Robert Spencer here for Jihad Watch, a program of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and for the Center for Security Policy. Qaisar Mahmud, a Muslim born in Pakistan, is the new head of the Swedish National Heritage Board. Now this is very strange, since Qaisar Mahmud readily admits that he's not read anything about Sweden's cultural heritage. But his new job is not really about preserving and protecting Sweden's cultural heritage and historical sites at all. Qaisar Mahmud, who once rode his motorcycle around Sweden in an apparently failed attempt to discover what being Swedish consisted of, is using his position as head of the Swedish National Heritage Board not to highlight and celebrate that heritage, which is what that job is supposed to be about, but to downplay Sweden's cultural heritage and history, and to create a false narrative that will help compel Swedes to accept mass Muslim migration. He says he doesn't want simply to alert people to Viking artifacts and the like, but to use Sweden's history to create the narrative that will make Muslim migrants part of something. Now, we've already seen how this works. Remember recently the fake news story about the Viking burial cloth bearing the word Allah. Last October, a Swedish researcher gained international headlines by claiming that burial costumes from Viking graves dating back to the 9th and 10th centuries had been found to be inscribed with the name Allah. The intent of this was obvious: to convince Swedes that Islam had always been a part of Sweden, all the way back to the days of the Vikings, and so they should not be concerned about the mass Muslim migration that was now bringing Sweden unprecedented rape and other crime rates. Islam has always been a part of Sweden. Stop opposing mass Muslim migration. It's racist to do so. The Viking burial cloths didn't really feature the name Allah at all. Stephanie Mulder is an associate professor of medieval Islamic art and archaeology at the University of Texas at Austin, and she proved that the Viking burial cloths did not bear the name Allah shortly after the international headlines that they did, but by then the damage had been done. The idea had entered, however dimly, the popular consciousness. The Vikings were really Muslims. Islam is Swedish. Swedish was Islamic before it was Christian. The Muslim migrants are Swedes. The Allah Viking burial cloth propaganda offensive was one manifestation of what Qaisar Mahmud and others like him are doing. There is no Muslim history in Sweden, but Qaisar Mahmud is working to change the very idea of cultural heritage and fabricate fictions about a historical Muslim presence in Sweden in order to advance his political and sociological agenda. Qaisar Mahmud, as a Pakistani, is of course not Swedish, and he has no Swedish heritage. And his admitted lack of knowledge of Swedish heritage and history ought to have disqualified him from his position. But this is how Sweden is obliterating itself and committing cultural and national suicide. After all, it was Swedes who appointed Qaisar Mahmud to this position. It is Swedish leaders who want to destroy Swedish cultural and national identity. It also must be remembered in connection with Qaisar Mahmud's role as head of the Swedish National Heritage Board that the Quran suggests that ruins are a sign of Allah's punishment of those who rejected him. The Quran says, "Many were the ways of life that have passed away before you. Travel through the earth and see what was the end of those who rejected truth." That's chapter 3, verse 137. This is one of the foundations of the Islamic idea that pre-Islamic civilizations and non-Islamic civilizations are all jahiliyyah, the society of unbelievers, which is worthless trash. Obviously, this cuts against the idea of tourism of ancient sites and non-Muslim religious installations, such as are found all over Sweden. The great novelist V.S. Naipaul encountered this attitude in his travels through Muslim countries. For many Muslims, he observed, he said, the time before Islam is a time of blackness. That is part of his Muslim theology. History has to serve theology. Naipaul recounted that some Pakistani Muslims, far from valuing the nation's renowned archaeological site at Mohenjo-Daro, saw its ruins as a teaching opportunity for Islam, recommending that that passage of the Quran be posted there as a teaching tool. It does lead one to ponder what Qaisar Mahmud might allow to be done or not done with Sweden's historical sites and artifacts. But whatever destruction may ensue is obviously exactly what Swedish authorities want. I'm Robert Spencer.